plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, look, without further ado, college football is back. A week from today, it will be back. There are many games. We will break down these games, and I'm so excited because even though it's not that many and it's not really, you're not getting the Alabamas and Georgias and all these, but you're getting some good times. My Tar Heels are playing, obviously, a couple other big ones. Like I said, we will touch on that later, but the preseason top 25 is out. It is officially out, ladies and gentlemen. Kate, I'm going to come to you first, but first I'm going to show the top 25. Yeah, buddy. So you got Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and Notre Dame in the top 5. Michigan, Texas A&M, Utah, Oklahoma, and Baylor rounded the top 10. Oklahoma State, Oregon, North Carolina State, Michigan State, and South USC. Thank you, Southern California. Will get in my head. Then we had Pitt, Miami, Texas, Wake Forest, and Wisconsin. And the last 5 is Kentucky, Cincinnati, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Houston. And that round out the preseason coaches poll top 25. Kate, looking at that, just at first glance, what are your thoughts? Anybody shafted? What are you thinking?
I still say that I don't agree with. I know Clemson's going to be better this year. I still don't agree putting them in the top 4 yet. They should be like, in my opinion, 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Because they have to prove a lot this season after last season. So I definitely think it's interesting that Alabama always gets that top spot, even with the defending champion Georgia at 3. God, why do they love Ohio State like they do? I don't get it, especially after last season.
As much as I hate it, there's an argument there.
Yeah, I get it why they do it, but it'll be interesting. But I like to see that Arkansas is where it's at. Cincinnati's in there after being in the college football playoff. I would have been sad not to see them. I do agree Wisconsin could be a very lethal competitor in the Big Ten this year. A&M, definitely. I think they're going to have a really good season. They had a really good recruiting class. So I think I agree totally with where they're at. I'm going to be really curious to see how Freeman does with Notre Dame this year. See how he does as a coach and where they're going to go. It'll be interesting if they do have to pick a place to play where they do, because I know where these conferences are tightening up. I believe that we'll see how Oklahoma does without Lincoln Riley. That'll be an interesting year for them as they rebuild with the new coach. So I think it's fair, but I don't think all the teams that are where they're at deserve to be where they're at yet.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And look, a lot of it is, what happened last year. We talk about the Cincinnatis, you know what I mean, Utahs, NC States. And then it's also what to expect. It's how you bring in USC and Miami. I am surprised at, one of the 2 teams we talked about. Alex, I'm going to come to you. Obviously, you guys are where you are, but you're 2 slots behind Clemson, just like Katie was saying. And I wonder, is that more of, Dabo in the last 7 years has been the 6 CFPs, and he still won 10 games on a year that we all considered considered an off year for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Explain the logic to why Clemson is up higher. Did you lose major pieces in Aiden Hutchinson and Ajabu? Talk to me.
So I think part of it is giving Dabo the respect he deserves and that he's earned. He's one of the best college coaches in the country over the last decade plus.
Yeah.
You still got Uwangalele as your quarterback. You've still got really good pieces in place. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the new coordinators. And when you do look at Michigan, you're pretty much starting over on defense. Yes, you have Junior Colson and Mike Morris and Mozzie Smith and DJ Turner. But that's almost it for your returning starters. You lost a ton on defense.
Yeah.
The offense as a whole is pretty much back. I mean, Hassan Haskins and a couple offensive linemen are gone. But, all your receivers, the rest of your running backs, all your tight ends, all your quarterbacks, and everything are back. So I'm glad they put us up high. But I do kind of understand, For example, as much as I hate Ohio State, they probably have the best quarterback in the nation. They probably have the best running back in the nation, and they definitely have the best wide receiver in the nation. So we'll see how Jim Knowles does with that defense, because if he doesn't fix it, they're in trouble. But there's certain arguments to be made for certain teams in the places that they are. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to doubt Nick Saban and all that after that national championship game. I think they're going to come set the world on fire this year.
And I honestly think they have the best quarterback. I'm a Bryce Young girl.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a really standout year.
No, absolutely. Let's say what's up to Ash. How you doing,
Hi, Ash?
Hi,
I was
Ash.
up so early. I just rolled out of bed. Hey.
I felt that.
Ash, you need to watch so you learn about some college football. You told me you wanted to learn.
I love it right there.
Yeah, the only thing I contribute to college football. Go Isle. There you go, Hawkeyes. I can dig it. And shout out to Ben Cornett watching. St. Clement has some talent in recruiting. Well, but more of the name and get them high on the rankings for 2020. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, like you said, you have the Alabamas, who we all know a lot of that is Saban, but a lot of that is we know what happens when Alabama loses. They normally bounce back in a real, little solid way. So them being high, Ohio State, like you said, yes, they're solid. Georgia being 3, I mean, they did lose their entire stud defense, but they're still returning some guys. So I honestly think that's fair. I want to move down in the list and kind of look at some teams that I know I've talked to you about, like Michigan State. Cat has left, so I can say this right now. They did have a solid year. They did come back and beat Michigan. That was lovely. Sorry, Kate. But I just don't. With losing Kenneth Walker, with losing Hayward went to Pittsburgh. You got Naylor, who's I think Minnesota, one of their big star receivers. I honestly feel like I don't know that it warranted the top 15 pick. Maybe in the top 25, I wouldn't have an issue with, but top 15 kind of set me back. I don't know. I just don't know what people are seeing from them. And also another team that, we're going to have to break this down a little bit later. Wake Forest. Yeah. They definitely deserve to be there from what happened from a year ago. But knowing what we know now, and if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Hartman is out indefinitely with an undisclosed injury. They still have not said, at least to my knowledge, what the injury is. So
no, they haven't.
Yeah, right now he's out right now, which elevates a number of teams. Obviously, my team, NC State, Clemson, FSU, some of the teams that we're going to talk about. But with them on this list, knowing what we know, it's kind of like, I mean, you don't take them off all together. But Alex, are they still top 25 without him?
Wake Forest, no. Sam Hartman's one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. To be fair, we haven't really seen the backup, so you never truly know. But going into the season, I could think of teams right on the edge there that are better than them. Yeah. As far as Michigan State goes, I think it's two things. It's kind of a blind faith in Mel Tucker, who's kind of earned that, honestly. And it's seeing what they did last year. They had so many players come through the transfer portal and ball out. Looking at Kenneth Walker, they've got two transfer running backs coming in this year. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, they did well last year. They brought all these guys in again this year, so they're going to do well. It's just kind of like a blind faith, let's wait and see kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of that is this. A lot of that is let's see what happens. Ben said top 3 for the Big Ten. In my opinion, Ohio State 1, Khakis.
Khakis.
Talking about Michigan 2, and then Penn State at 3. Hey, as long as Franklin is there in the whiteout, we've seen the talent that he produces. Thank you for Jahan Dotson. Yeah, I'm with it. I can see it happening. I want to see who he's returning this year. But yeah, I definitely like that. I think a lot of it is, based on what happened last year, then also who you're bringing back, the recruiting. We've all talked about it. Now, with that one, and I'm not upset. As you see, Tar Heels, we're not in there. It's okay. Right. We want the chip on our shoulder. We'll be there. I think what do we have, like 5 votes outside?
Yeah, you guys aren't far out there. You're sitting at
you guys are
realistically like 32-ish.
Oh yeah. And we're returning a solid wide receiver in Josh Downs. We got some solid recruits. coming out of the draft, and our D line. I think the word they used was monsters. Okay, these guys are men amongst boys, and I'm very excited to see number 10 Desmond Evans is coming off that edge, and he just wrecked it in the spring game. But we'll discuss that a little later. I don't want to get too much into my heels.
Then we have Texas, who just announced their starting quarterback finally. So that's really good. But we'll see what that's like in a year.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Texas will have a very good year. Mm-hmm. I do. I have a lot of faith in them. And now that Quinn knows he's got the job, he's going to get serious about it and try to keep it and prove why he should be the starter next year. Because we know Arch Manning's coming in. So
it's going to be how well he does.
Well, I've heard the Arch Manning thing isn't set in stone. There's still teams kind of prying. Alabama and Georgia and some of these teams are still prying.
I don't know if he'll do it.
We'll see.
It's going to be interesting because look, until and this is what we talked about in the last show is that yes, he committed, but how many players have we seen commit and be 100% on this, and all of a sudden it's like, what? You're going here now? Like, what happened? It's just like sometimes they get a feel, sometimes. And shout out, I'm not going to get too deep into this, the Monte Teo story, where they talked about him. All he wanted everyone to do was go USC. But then when one of the people at his school, one of his counselors was like, yo, you're a faith. I know you're going to be great over at USC, but I thought you're going to be the Monte Teo, the one and only at Notre Dame. And to see what he did and bring them back, Notre Dame's another one. You talked about that, Kate, with being a new coach. They're giving, this is love. Everybody was really dogging them last year, even though they were a top 10 team. And now to have them in the top 5.
I'm really curious. Freeman, I think, is going to lead them really well this year as a coach. I think they picked the right man to lead Notre Dame into the next era at Notre Dame football. So I'm really excited to see how he does. The players seem to just love him.
Yeah. Yes. And that goes so far with guys, and especially, kids. We're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them, let's be very honest, some of them may not have a father figure. Some of them may not have that kind of role model in their lives.
Oh, definitely.
And he's that type of guy. I mean, you could just see it. When they announced him and he came in the locker room and everybody was hugging on him and whatnot.
That was great.
They loved him. And that's college football. Walking into Notre Dame Stadium, walking into that locker room, man. Oh,
I love to see, after a big win, when the coach gets doused in the Gatorade and, they go in the locker room and, Jim Harbaugh's dancing and doing the gritty with his players. And that's what it's all about.
Real quick. So I do want to say shout out to Anthony, man. We're going to talk about you later.
Yeah.
I hope you stay on the show.
Anthony.
I got to see him yesterday. But how did we not talk about this and what we love about college football? Storming the field.
Yeah.
That is something unique to college football that I just absolutely, that just gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. Because especially the closer you get, you're like, oh, whoa, this is going to happen. They upset him and they just pour onto the field. That is something that I've always wanted to be part of.
To see what happened at the big house in the snow.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Or A&M Alabama.
Yeah. Auburn out.
And
big
Aiden Hutchinson breaking down in tears and that's the good feeling stuff that you want to see in college football.
Oh, absolutely.
These big men that go out there and sack these quarterbacks breaking down because
it's even deeper than that. And not to bring an Ohio native to it, but you go back and look at LeBron. And LeBron said when he came back to Cleveland, he said, I came back to win them a championship. And he did. And he broke down after that. That's same with Aiden Hutchinson. He said, we will beat Ohio State. I will die before we lose before I allow us not to beat Ohio State. And it happened. And when you have that, we talked about it. I mean, we know what happened to CFP, but that was their national championship.
Yeah, without a doubt. Definitely was.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
100%.
So, I absolutely love that. Definitely want to hit up on Ben was saying my team, by the way, is Florida State. He's been relegated from the ACC. We start our season next week against Duquesne. FSU was barely favored. Yeah, we will talk about that.
It's rough, yeah.
Wow, how great you guys once were. Thoughts on the Big Ten landing a new TV contract? Personally, I expected it, but I think it'll be good, especially for spots to go more streaming now. Huh? Yeah. What do you guys think about that, Alex? I'll come to you first. Like, I mean, Big Ten now. They're not ESPN, right? They're
Nope.
They're going everything else.
Yeah.
ACC
Like, okay.
and like CBS, all those. It's 7 years, $7 billion.
Yep.
So I don't know that they're done with USC and UCLA coming. And I just saw something today. UCLA might be held back, but if that happens, Stanford's the next in line.
Yeah.
So, it's only good for the Big Ten. This whole Super League expansion thing that's happening, it only helps the Big Ten there. So yeah, we'll see what it truly does.
It should be very interesting.
Yeah.
Anthony said the gritty, the Holy Ghost dance. Oh, Lordy V.
I'm surprised Anthony's awake.
Right. Oh, yes. Oh, and we're going to dive into why we're surprised. My man was up later than me. If FSU wins next week against SoCade, our fans will definitely store the field and carry Mark North off the players' shoulders like Rudy. Yes. Like, let's go.
I love that.
Yes. I don't worry, Ben. I won't mention Jackson State. I mean, what? I mean, was it Jacksonville State that they lost to last year? Who'd they lose to? Who the Florida State?
Jacksonville State, yeah.
Jacksonville State. Ugh. Sorry, my friend. Absolutely sorry. But look,
I think Deion's team might beat them if they played right now.
And look, Deion's team. Look, and hey, Mike.
I am so excited to watch Deion's team this year.
Watch out, man. Watch out for Deion.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Deion said he was better than him. Now I understand you trying to hype your people up, but that's high praise coming from potentially the GOAT at corner ever. So you know what I mean? That's an interesting thought. I do want to break this down. We also have one more real quick. Colin Cowherd, and those of you who don't know, Colin Cowherd has a show on FS1. Sometimes he has some pretty interesting takes. I take what he says with a grain of salt, but he had his top 25, and it looks far different. Ohio State, Alabama, still same. USC 3, Texas 4, Tennessee at 5, UCLA, Utah, Nebraska, Louisville, and my Tar Heels, Arkansas, FSU, A&M, the defending champs at 14, Washington at 15, Penn State, Iowa State, who lost half all their offense, VT, Minnesota, Ole Miss, Oregon, BYU, Oklahoma at 23, Oklahoma State at 24, and at 25, Notre Dame. Did you just blindly pick teams at the hat? Like, what? I don't even understand that. And I appreciate North Carolina love, but that ain't right, man. Take us out, Kate. Can you comment on this, man? Like,
well, the man's not big on Michigan anyway, so there's that. So he's like the Paul Feinbaum of FS1. He does not like Michigan.
Yeah, that guy, I had to turn him off the other day.
Paul Feinbaum?
Yeah.
You have to. You can't listen to him. But I don't agree with this. I think it's like he put like the teams in like one of those bingo things and just went
just picked it out, right?
Pulled them out. And no, it's crazy. But I'm not even gonna give this man his my oxygen because I don't agree with any of it. It's crazy. He's crazy.
Yeah. Alex, I don't even. I mean, how do you make sense of this? First of all, I love Nebraska, but 8, Louisville at 9. I mean, and then
that
like
ranking is higher than the amount of games Nebraska won last year.
Right? Exactly.
So,
right? I mean, like, come on. But look, let's go with you. Talk Georgia. How is it? Let me go right quick again. You have Tennessee,
14.
Nebraska, Louisville, and Florida State and North Carolina
as well.
Right, and UCLA ahead of the defending national champions. I don't care if Georgia lost every player and returning an entirely new team. They are still going to be better than 3 out of 4 of those teams. So
I will say this. I don't think it's going to take long with what I'm hearing out of the Cornhusker land. It won't take long for Nebraska to break the top 25, I don't think. But
if it does, Scott Frost is gone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with what they're saying about their team this year, they'll break the top 25 soon, but not go that high.
Well, so here's my other thought to play devil's advocate. Alex, I'm gonna come to you for this. The other thought I had was, is this maybe an expectation of what he's looking at the end of this year? Like, is this what he says the year will end with? Because I've heard things about Washington. I've heard things about upstart Florida State. I can't get it going on with Iowa State, but go ahead.
To me, there's so many teams in there that aren't gonna be in there at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I can grab a handful of teams that aren't in there and throw them in. I mean, Notre Dame at 25 is ridiculous.
Yep.
We already talked Georgia. Can you put it up again?
Yep.
I've got there's a few. I mean, he's a USC fan, so I can understand why you put them at 3. Minnesota doesn't have it. Iowa State, we said, lost their entire offense. Virginia Tech, BYU, no. Oregon, no.
I don't agree with Tennessee.
Washington, yeah, definitely Tennessee that high. I like them.
Tennessee's super underrated.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be top 5, but I think end of the season they will be in the top
15, maybe, but not top 5.
Yeah, definitely not 4.
Nebraska was the.
Honestly, they were. I made that comparison multiple times.
And so the crazy part about it is, like he said, like they were in almost every game. I know they were in with y'all. They were in with a whole bunch of teams, and Nebraska has talent. They
really
talent.
do. Their defense is going to be maybe super scary this season, they're saying.
I honestly think they're, if not this year, I think they're a year out. Like, honestly. But I think, like you said, if he could turn that program around, they're come calling for him. We've seen what happens with coaches.
Well, no, I think it's the opposite. I think if they start to struggle again, I think they push him out. Yeah. Because this is year 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just going downhill every year, so.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, defending national champ. Okay, it's almost the reign is almost over. It's a new year, baby. Tar Heels. Wow, that was a little bit too much of a laugh, Alex.
Get that number
if you were talking basketball, then yes, but.
Well, all right, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we need to move on since my guy Alex is showing his true colors on me. God, my Tar Heels, man. One day, we were 8th a couple years back. All right.
Yep.
But we have to move on, and we're gonna be able to break this down. Look, this is just the preseason polls, the coaches poll, not Colin Cowherd's crazy one. The preseason, these are the preseason polls, which 1 game, 2 games, upset, left and right, close games. These can move and will move up and 100%. Down.
And it all depends on how healthy a team stays.
Absolutely. Right.
You could lose your starting quarterback, your starting running back. You could lose your wide receiver, your best safety, on any given day. You saw the injuries that Michigan had last year.
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell, Blake Corum. But so you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. These players have to stay healthy for these polls to stay intact.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Because you hear players, like I said, Sam Hartman. We don't know what happened to him. I had this name written down. A guy from Vanderbilt just found out the other day, blew his knee, and he's out for the entire year.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, you hate for it to happen, and you hate to sit there and use that disclaimer like, oh, they got to stay healthy. But it's the fact of the matter, like it is. We've seen Ajabu. He did great, came at college, did everything, and then and what, the pro day or the combine? Or whatever.
It was the pro day at Michigan where he was showing a move and down he
went.
Where
they're having a pass rusher drop back in coverage.
Yeah. And
like,
it's a shame. You're right. It is like, did you really need to do, seriously? Like, what have you not seen?
That's for another show. But getting rid of all these days, they have to prove themselves.
It's gonna be interesting. You're starting to see why players opt out of these bowl games and some of these things.
Thanks for watching. If you liked that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.